Freya submitted the following question: how do I stop panicking about my dissertation word count and just write when it matters? I think this is
Mm.
something that we all feel. There is that moment where you're like, "Ooh, is this long enough? Is this too long?" So what can we do to stop focusing on the length of the document and focus on the writing process itself?
Yeah. So my first tip is turn the word counter off. So if you've got your word processor set up so the word count is always displayed, turn it off because that is going to be a persistent distraction. We think about metacognition. Dissertation writing is a heavily metacognitive process. You're being asked to use all parts of your brain and synthesize all this stuff together. And if you've got a little ticker in the corner, that's going to shut off part of your brain. So we're going to start there. We're going to just clear the screen. The next thing I would say is if you're really stuck on it, sometimes I think it can be helpful to write pieces of your dissertation in separate files so that you can't see how long the whole thing is. So maybe you write your problem statement and you save as, and that's a problem statement. And you write your research questions and we save as, and that's your research questions. And then you kind of stitch everything together at the end. That strategy I find often pleasantly surprises people because they stitch it together at the end and they've blown the word count way out of the water and they just couldn't see it along the way. So I think hiding that word count in that way can help. I also think part of the challenge of writing a dissertation is that you have to give the reader all the information they need to understand your dissertation and your context, right? But you also don't want to be super redundant. You have to tell a cohesive and coherent story. And so that part of it can be really hard. And so I think sometimes stepping out of the process, letting another reader engage, whether that's a grad coach who's reading alongside you, that could be a peer in your class, it could be a spouse who knows nothing about your work. I find that to be a really helpful strategy is to go to a spouse, a sibling, a best friend, and have them read that work and give you feedback and they have no clue what's happening. That can kind of push you out of it, right? And get you back into the content and out of like dissertation brain. The last thing I'll say is a lot of my clients come to me and they're very stressed because they have this idea that the dissertation is the magnum opus. It is the great work of your life, the most important thing you will ever do. And I'm here to pop that bubble, and I'm going to pop that bubble every time you talk to me because that is not the case. The dissertation for most of us, unless you're at Harvard full-time residential in a program, most of us, the dissertation is the first piece of professional research we will do. And the first of anything is not very good, and it doesn't hold up very long. My dissertation was fine. It's online. You can find it. Please don't, because it's not very good. If you want to see a good example of Dr. Courtney's research, go to my website and see the last thing I posted, because that is going to be the best piece of research I've done because every piece of research gets better than the last one. So you kind of have to shake off that magnum opus mentality. I find that holds a lot of people back.